Morning, good afternoon, good evening. In today's video we're going to be working on planning. We're going to work out how you plan a photograph, how you find some locations and how that can result in some better pictures for you when you're working out in the field. So we're going to follow that full process. I'm going to show you how I plan my photography, we're going to go and take those pictures and then I'm going to show you the finished results. So let's do it. You're part of the photographic community that gives me so much, so it's time to give back to all of you. It's my mission to inspire and pass on my knowledge, passion and skills. You can subscribe using the watermark button on the screen. Ring your bell to make your subscription count. Please stay to the end and comment. It's your feedback that keeps the channel going. Okay, so exactly how do I plan my photographs? Well, you may have watched this video. I'm going to put a link up to it at the end and show you the thumbnail now, where I say you don't need to go out without a plan. And sometimes that's exactly right. There is no need to plan. Sometimes it's good just to go out with your camera, take a good walk, have a look around, see what you can find, and come back with some fantastic ideas. But it's when you come back with those fantastic ideas, or when you see some ideas on another YouTube channel, when you see some ideas on Google or some other search engine, anything which inspires you, and you want to try and capture those locations, that you need to do a little bit of planning. A little bit of planning can go a long way to stopping a lot of disappointment later on. So the first thing I do, regardless of where I get the idea from, I start to look at maps. Now I've got a number of apps which I use on my phone, but I'm using the iPad screen here just to make it a little bit easier to show you guys what it is we're working on. And I just want to say before we go any further that I'm not endorsed by, supported by, paid by any of these companies whatsoever. All the apps which I'm using today were purchased with my own money. So the first thing I might tend to do is I'll normally go into something like Land Ranger or the outdoor guides and decide on a location. And what I've done with this one is I've actually downloaded a walk somewhere close to my home and decided that that's where I'm going to be going. So after doing that, I've zoomed in on a number of locations which look quite likely to provide some good photographs. So I'm going to go down to this area here on our walk, and we're going to look across Saddle Cove towards Hillsea Point and see if we can get some interesting photographs in that area. I've also found that there's a car park very close by, so that works really well. So the next thing to do really is to decide whether or not it's the right time of year to do it, whether or not the light's coming from the right direction. So the other app I use is something called TPE. Now, TPE stands for the Photographer's Ephemeris, which is a bit of a mouthful, readily available on the app stores and online. And what you can do with the Photographer's Ephemeris is you can go into the map, you can drop what they call a pin where you want your location to be set up for, which is what I've just done down here, look. And you can actually work out where the light's coming from. So for here, for example, it's sat on Hillsea where we were talking, but we can just, for example's sake, just drop a pin there and it will move the light and show us where the light's coming from. So we can see that sunrise is at 7:22 in the morning down in the box. We can also see that that yellow line shows exactly where the light's coming from. Now, unfortunately, our bit of coastline and cove is going to be in shadow because of that. We can do a little bit of work in camera to sort that out, to be honest, and for the purposes of this exercise, that's a location I'm going to go to. What I'm also hoping is that the sky will be reasonably free of heavy cloud, but have enough high cloud on it so maybe we get it lit up by the sun, because as the sun rises over here, there's going to be a little bit of time before it goes up above the headland and becomes a problem to us when we're taking pictures. Hopefully in that time we're going to get some great light in the sky, and that reflected light will come down and light up the water and the bay in front of us a little bit and give us some interesting colours. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Planning only goes so far. So the way in which I decide on what the weather's going to be like is I tend to use, in the UK I use the Met Office app. There's a lot of other ones you can use. There's AccuWeather, there's Climasail, there's all kinds of different apps available, so just pick the one that works for you. And then it gives me a general idea of what the weather's going to be like, and a lot of them you can save your favourite locations and put them in. and then if I find something where I think it's going to work, I'll go for it, and that's what I'm going to use. So if you remember when we were looking at TPE, we said that sunrise was 7:22. We can also see that civil start is 6:49. Now civil start is really the time at which you can start walking around without having to use street lights, without having to use a head torch or worry about any other illumination. So it's quite safe to start walking about that time. Luckily our car park is quite close to the coast, so it's an easy walk down there. But obviously the more time you can give yourself on location to set your pictures up, unless you've been there before, the better chance you're going to give yourselves. Sorry, just got to get rid of that. Somebody's messaging me. And it really will sort of like help you set up your pictures. So the other thing that I do in that case is work out what time I need to leave. So I know that I want to get to the car park at civil start or earlier. In this case I got there a little bit earlier anyway, because I leave myself quite a bit of lead time. And then what I'll do is, regardless of where you are, what you want to use, doesn't matter, I use TomTom, but you can put your location into the car park, work out how long it takes, and you can work your timings backwards from sunrise to when you need to arrive at your parking and walk in. So you can also use these apps in the field, and that's what I'm going to show you in the next bit of the video when we get down to location. So let's go and take a look. The plan's kind of gone okay so far. We arrived at the car park on time. The car park wasn't locked or anything. We were able to park up quite nicely and get exactly where we wanted to go. And so I am here at a location on the coast, which I hope is going to give me a little bit of potential for the sunrise. I can see some kind of structure up on the headland, but I'm not quite sure what it is. But it's giving me an idea of a composition that I can work on. But I'm not holding out too many hopes for a fantastic sunrise. There's some colour in the sky, but nothing amazing, just that pre-dawn glow. There's some patchy cloud, but nothing to really light up. And even if it did light up, I can see a bank of cloud on the horizon, which I think is going to stop anything from majestically sort of firing up and creating a fantastic dawn. But you just never know. You never know what's going to happen in the next half an hour or so. So I'm going to try and get a slightly better position to actually work out where I'm going to stand and how I'm going to do this, and then I'll get back to you guys in a minute. Well, you would not have believed that just walking around the corner and then slowly walking downhill, you would come across a scene like this. Boy, am I glad that I came to a new location today. So I didn't know what I was going to find here, and that's one of the great things about coming to new locations. You don't always know what you're going to come across. And when I got down here, I could see that there was kind of a path down through the heather and down to this grassy area at the bottom, and with some rocks beyond it. And boy, am I glad that I did, because we found a much better location. So I think you can see basically what I'm doing. I've got this bay in the front of us. I've got some foreground rocks and a pool in it as well. And on the top of the hill, on the top of the cliff on the other side, it comes to like a point, which I'm using in the frame. So I've got a nice diagonal from the pool across to the rocks, and we've got the sun rising in the background. So I've gone for a 6-stop ND filter. I'm shooting at an f11 and about 13 seconds. So we'll have a nice creamy, silk, smooth water, and that should add to the feel of the shot. So that's the idea this morning. But we're not here to talk really about that. Right guys, so that's some photography done. What I wanted to do was to show you how the planning that I did yesterday relates to the photography that we've done today. So you can see that from behind me that the sky's actually lit up. So we know that the sun is pretty much behind me in the right place. So if you remember yesterday, we used an app called TPE that we've got here. Rube, this way. Sorry, I've got to keep an eye on her, but she'll wander off into the rocks else.
if you remember yesterday, we used an app called TPE, and we used TPE to actually give us an idea of where the sun was actually going to be and where it comes up on the sun, where it comes up in relation to the date and the time of day. So if we look at this, we can see that yes, it is behind these headlands and where it is. But what we can also do with this app that's actually quite good is we can flip forward by date. So we can go 1st of October, 3rd, 10th, 16th, 17th, and if you look at it, you can see that that yellow line gradually moves. And if you look at it, you can see that it just passes this first bit of jutting out headland here, which I think is this bit, on or around the 8th of November. So I reckon if we came back then, and guess what, maybe I will, I'm not sure, if we came back then and looked at the scene at that time, the sun would be over here. So the sun would rise over this point, and it would actually be illuminating some of, sidelighting across here, maybe some of this bay. And that's how you use these apps out in the field. And that's how I prefer to work. I prefer to use the app to get a general direction, a general idea of where the sunlight is going to land, where it's going to hit, what it's going to kiss, and then out in the field use this to get a much better idea of where we're going to go. So what I can do now is I can take a screenshot of that. Well, I could, if I knew how. I can take a quick screenshot of this. There we go. So I'll take a screenshot, and then I can click that save to files, and then what I'll do is I'll open up this in my notes, and then I can set up some notes on here, and I can go add, photo library, so we can take a picture. So we've got an idea, we can use that as a photo, and then we can also go into this photo library, all photos, that one, done, and there's our notes. So now we've got an idea of what the scene's going to look like, what we're shooting. We've got an idea of what it's going to be, when the sun's going to be in that direction, and also what the date is on here. So then we can log that into our photography diary of locations to come back to. So maybe 8th of November, it's on a Sunday, I'm going to try and come back to this point and take these photographs again. So I hope that's sort of cleared that up a bit. I'm going to have a bit of breakfast now, and we've got a bit more walking to do in a minute, and I'll see if anything really good comes up in there and I want to show you some more compositions. Maybe I'll vlog those as well, but for right now I'm just going to have a bit of breakfast. I might take a few more pictures as the light on the sea changes, because it can look quite interesting, and we'll carry on with that. So I'm going to take a few more images, and because I'm a photographer really, you know, and then we'll have a bit of breakfast.
Right, okay, I hope you found that useful. The final image, yeah, it's kind of okay. It's not as good as it could have been. I would like to have a little bit more colour in the sky, which were reflected in the water and lifted the whole thing out of the ordinary. But you know, you can plan as much as you want using maps, using TPE, using Google Earth, using TomTom and sat-navs to get there on time. But what you can't do is plan the weather. You can predict what it's going to be like, but you can't plan it. It's going to do what it's going to do. So it wasn't too bad from that point of view. It did, however, prove that the light comes up pretty much where these apps say, and they work reasonably well, and the planning does have some sort of use to it. It's not all a waste of time. So I hope you found it useful. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I would love to hear your comments below. Maybe you could tell me how you plan your pictures, or if you're planning to use similar methods to this now in the future. I'd be interested to see. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you enjoyed this video, please watch some more and consider subscribing. But most of all, what I really want you to do is get out there and enjoy your photography and get creative and see what you can produce. So that's it from me. Bye for now. I'll see you in the next video.